Young in the Restless spoilers reveal Sharon's depression is making her a person in a constant state of fear. Heather's image always haunts her. What happens when Heather's ghost appears on Halloween? This always contains ghosts from the past. Sharon Newman, a beautiful and complex woman, has long struggled with her dark past. But this time, it seems that shadow is chasing her more strongly than ever, haunting her both when she is awake and when she sleeps. Every day that passes, Sharon feels Heather's ghost lurking in the corners of Genoa City, watching her every step. She feels Heather's cold and invisible gaze, watching her from every angle. Sharon has never escaped the feeling of terror every time she sees that figure, even for a moment. Heather appears not only as a ghost, but also as a representative of guilt, pain and fear. Sharon felt like she was sucked into a spiral of guilt with no way out. The feeling of insecurity and obsession tormented her to the point of being unbearable. She began to lose sleep, her spirit collapsed, paranoia and anxiety caused her to fall into a state of severe depression. Tormented by guilt, Sharon begged for forgiveness from Heather's shadow. But the ghost only looked at her with emotionless eyes, not responding, leaving only terror in Sharon's heart. Mariah feels worried about her mother. In recent days, Mariah, Sharon's daughter, felt that her mother was acting more and more strangely. She realized that Sharon had become distant. Her eyes were often lifeless, sometimes she would sit for hours staring blankly into space. Mariah knew her mother was haunted, but she could not understand the seriousness of the matter. One day, after witnessing a panic attack in her mother, Mariah immediately informed Nick that Sharon needed to be taken to the hospital for treatment before it was too late. Nick, who was once the great love of Sharon's life, is also concerned about her condition. He realizes that Sharon is no longer the strong, confident woman he once knew. She is now a ghost of herself, trapped in fear and torment. Nick decides to find a way to help Sharon, but he also realizes that it will not be easy. A tearful conversation with a ghost. In a panic and despair, Sharon suddenly has a haunting conversation with an apparition of Nick Newman, the man she once trusted. Nick's image appears dimly, as if he is in a fog. "You want me to tell the world that I killed Heather and framed Daniel?" Sharon says, her voice trembling. "I'll spend the rest of my life in prison. How can I do that?" Nick does not answer the question directly. Instead, he looks at Sharon with eyes full of love and pain. "Can you forgive yourself, Sharon?" His question pierced her pain, choking her. "You can do the right thing, for Lucy," she said desperately, trying to explain to Nick that what happened to Heather was just a terrible accident. She didn't want it to go this far. But as soon as the words left her mouth, Heather's ghost suddenly appeared, questioning her harshly. "Is that true?" Sharon turned around, startled, facing Heather's ghost. "Heather, I would give anything if nothing happened. I never meant to hurt you." But Heather, her eyes cold and sharp, replied, "But it did. You killed me, Sharon, and you framed Daniel so that everyone believed he was guilty." Sharon screamed in desperation, trying to banish the haunting ghost. "Get out of my head, Heather. Leave me alone." But Heather just laughed mockingly, maliciously. "You will never escape me, Sharon. I will be here, to remind you of everything you have done to me and my family." The hopeless escape. Unable to bear the torment, Sharon stormed out of the house, got into her car and drove away at high speed. As she left the city, she remembered the horror of that day, the day she lost control. She remembered the moment she pushed Heather into the river, leaving her to sink into the cold water. Sharon began to say to herself, "This can't be happening. I did everything Cameron said, he said I would be safe." But then a ghostly voice came from the back seat, startling Sharon to the point of choking. It was Heather's voice. "You will never be safe, Sharon," Heather's ghost whispered. "Forever, you and I will always walk together." Sharon was so panicked that she almost lost control of the car, but she regained her composure and decided to go to the park, the place she believed would help her escape the darkness in her soul. She longed for a little light, a little hope, but that peace only lasted for a moment. As soon as she looked up, she saw Heather again, standing there, silently watching with a menacing gaze. No one else saw Heather, only Sharon, and the terror rose in her heart again. Heather stood still, saying nothing, but her eyes seemed to convey that she would never leave Sharon. Heather was the embodiment of revenge, and she would be there to remind Sharon of all the sins she had committed. Sharon Newman tried to find a way to run away from the past, but it seemed fate had decided that she could not escape what she had done. Heather would forever be a shadow that would never leave Sharon, a ghost that would always be by her side to remind Sharon of the price of sin and torment. What she had done not only left a scar on others, but also a permanent curse that she would have to carry for the rest of her life. No matter how many people around her wanted to help Sharon, she was still deep in her own darkness. Heather's ghost remains a constant reminder, a wound that never heals in Sharon's heart. It is the price she pays for her split-second decisions, a price she cannot escape, no matter who is by her side or where she is. Subscribe to Yonder for the latest news.